My name is Grace Thompson. I am 68 years old, a retired nurse, a widow, and the day I came home to find that note on my kitchen table, I knew my son Marcus had finally shown me who he really was. Before we dive into this story, I need you to smash that like button right now, subscribe to this channel, and turn on all notifications because what I'm about to tell you will make your blood boil and your heart race. Comment below where you're watching from, and trust me, you'll want to stay until the very end because the revenge I got was absolutely perfect. The note was simple. Blue painter's tape holding it to my dining table. Marcus's handwriting, the same handwriting I'd watched develop from childhood. Mom, we flew to Miami. Please don't call. We need some space. Miami. My son and his wife Vanessa had flown to Miami while I was at a doctor's appointment. They didn't ask. They didn't tell me in person. They just left a note like I was some stranger they owed nothing to. But that wasn't the worst part. Keep watching because this gets so much darker. I walked to my bedroom, my coat still on, my purse still on my shoulder. In my closet, behind winter coats I hadn't worn in years, was a small safe. I'd opened it countless times before, always with quiet reassurance. That day it opened just as easily. Inside there was nothing. No envelopes. No documents. No savings I had built over decades of night shifts and careful restraint. Just empty metal and my own reflection staring back at me. $73,000. Every single penny I had saved from 40 years of nursing. Vanished while I was getting my blood pressure checked. If you're already angry, hit that like button and keep watching. The revenge is coming and it's beautiful. Marcus hadn't always been like this. After my husband Robert died 5 years ago, the house felt too empty. Marcus started calling more often, stopping by with groceries, fixing things around the house. I thought grief had brought us closer. I was wrong. Grief had just made me easier to control. Then Vanessa came into the picture. Soft voice, attentive smile, always remembering my appointments. When she suggested organizing my bills online, it felt practical, even kind. That's how it starts, isn't it? Small favors that feel like love but are actually just the first step in taking everything. The changes were subtle at first. Marcus asked for account access, just to keep an eye on things. Vanessa suggested I stop driving at night. Decisions started being made for me instead of with me, always wrapped in concern, always disguised as help. Eventually I moved into their house. Just until you feel less lonely, they said. My room was small but clean. I adjusted my routines to fit theirs. Somewhere along the way, I stopped being a guest and became a burden they were managing. Money started leaving my account regularly. Car repairs, business opportunities, short-term loans that would be paid back. Every reason sounded urgent, reasonable. And every time I considered pushing back, I saw Marcus's jaw tighten. Saw Vanessa's smile thin just slightly. I chose peace over confrontation. Comment below if you've ever felt manipulated by family. Subscribe because this story is about to explode. Then came the night everything changed. I woke up thirsty around 2 a.m. and went to the kitchen for water. The house was dark, but voices drifted from the living room. Marcus's voice was low. Vanessa's carried an edge I'd never heard before. They were talking about me. Not unkindly, not angrily, but like I was a problem that needed solving. The nursing home I researched has good reviews, Vanessa said. Once we get her settled there, she won't even notice the difference. And we can finally go to Miami, Marcus replied. Once everything is transferred, we're free. I stood there in the dark hallway, my glass of water untouched, and felt something click into place. Not fear. Clarity. They weren't helping me. They were disposing of me. I went back to my room without making a sound and didn't sleep the rest of that night. By sunrise, I knew exactly what I had to do. Like this video right now if you want to see how Grace gets her revenge. Turn on notifications because you won't want to miss this. I didn't change my behavior all at once. That would have raised suspicion. Instead, I became quieter, more compliant. When Vanessa corrected me, I let her. When Marcus spoke for me, I didn't interrupt. They mistook my silence for confusion, for decline. They had no idea I was documenting everything. I started keeping a small notebook in my nightstand. To them, it looked like the scattered notes of an aging woman trying to remember things. What I actually wrote were dates, conversations, transactions. Every time they mentioned my money. Every time they made decisions about my future without asking. I was building a case. Then I did something they would never expect. I reached out to Jonathan Carter, a lawyer whose mother I had cared for years ago. I called him from a grocery store parking lot, sitting in my car with the engine off. "Jonathan, I need help," I said. "My son is stealing from me, and I need to stop him without him knowing I'm stopping him." Jonathan didn't interrupt. When I finished, he asked precise questions. He explained my options slowly. He didn't promise it would be easy. He promised it would be effective. From then on, everything moved deliberately. I didn't confront them. I didn't accuse. I let Marcus believe his control was complete because people who think they've won stop being careful. Subscribe right now. Comment justice if you think Grace deserves revenge. This is about to get so good. Vanessa became bolder. She scheduled my appointments without asking. She spoke to my doctors as if she were my voice. Marcus stopped pretending to consult me about finances altogether. Change hurt. Each one also confirmed what I already knew. Then came the day Marcus told me there was an emergency. He needed access to what remained of my savings. "It's temporary, Mom. It's important." I looked at him across the kitchen table and nodded. I signed the papers he put in front of me. What Marcus didn't know was that Jonathan had already moved my real savings into a protected account. What he didn't know was that the money he was stealing had been flagged by the bank. What he didn't know was that every transaction he made was being documented as evidence of financial exploitation. 3 days later, Marcus and Vanessa left for Miami. They hugged me quickly. "Rest, Mom. Don't worry about anything." They didn't notice how calm I was. They didn't ask why. By the time their plane took off, I was sitting in my room with my hands folded, waiting. Everything that needed to be done had already been done. If your heart is racing right now, smash that like button. The airport scene is coming and it's absolutely perfect. The morning Marcus and Vanessa landed in Miami, I woke before sunrise. Not nervous, just ready. I made coffee and waited by the window, watching the sky lighten. By late morning my phone rang. Jonathan's name on the screen. His voice was calm. "There's been a delay with Marcus and Vanessa's travel plans. They've been asked to step aside for questioning." I thanked him and hung up. For a few minutes, I waited for satisfaction to arrive, for some sense of victory. It didn't come. What I felt was quiet, heavy relief. An hour later, Jonathan called again. The financial records raised serious concerns. "The documentation we prepared is being reviewed. There's no simple explanation they can offer." According to Jonathan, Marcus was confused at first. He kept insisting everything had been done with my permission. Vanessa tried to smooth things over, explaining they were just helping. That approach works when there's doubt. There was no doubt anymore. Later that afternoon, Marcus asked to speak with me. When the video call connected, I saw the ceiling of an airport office, harsh fluorescent lights. Then Marcus's face filled the screen. He looked smaller, like the confidence he'd been wearing no longer fit. "Mom," he said, his voice cracking. "What's happening? Why is this happening?" I let him finish. Then I spoke. Comment, she did the right thing if you're on Grace's side. Like and subscribe for more stories like this. "Marcus, I was never confused," I said calmly. "I heard you and Vanessa talking about the nursing home. I heard you planning Miami. I heard you discussing my life like it was an obstacle you needed to remove. I knew about every dollar you took. I documented everything. And I made sure you would face consequences." For the first time in years, Marcus didn't interrupt me. He didn't defend himself. He didn't look to Vanessa for help. He just listened, his eyes wide, as if truly hearing me required more effort than he'd ever given before. Vanessa stayed just out of view. I could hear her breathing, controlled and shallow. She never spoke. I think she understood then that this wasn't something she could manage with the right tone or the right words. Love doesn't give you ownership, Marcus, I continued. And I will not apologize for protecting myself from my own son. When the call ended, the screen went dark. I stayed where I was for a long moment, staring at my reflection. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt emptied, the way you do after setting down something heavy you didn't realize you'd been carrying. That evening I went for a walk through my neighborhood. Life moved forward, indifferent to the quiet collapse of something that had once mattered deeply to me. And I realized that's what justice feels like. Not loud, not dramatic, just real. Miami was never the end of my story. It was just the place where Marcus and Vanessa stopped being able to pretend that mine didn't exist. Like this video if you believe Grace did the right thing. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Comment your country below. The weeks after were quiet. Phone calls came through Jonathan, efficient and unemotional. There were hearings, statements, decisions. Marcus faced consequences for what he'd done. Vanessa faced her own. Nothing dramatic, just the slow, deliberate work of accountability. I sold my house that fall. Not because it held bad memories, but because it no longer fit the life I was choosing. My new place was modest, bright, simple. I planted herbs in small pots. I cooked meals just for myself. I stopped apologizing for existing. People like to believe that justice repairs what was broken. Doesn't. Justice doesn't give you back the child you remember. Doesn't erase the betrayal. What justice gives you is permission. Permission to stop doubting yourself. Permission to stand in the truth without needing anyone else to validate it. I don't speak about Marcus often now. Not because I'm angry. Anger is loud. What I feel is quiet. Some losses arrive gently, wrapped in familiarity. There's no ceremony for losing a relationship to betrayal. Only acceptance. There are days I miss him. Not the man he became, but the boy he was. I allow that grief its space. At this stage of life, I know better than to pretend not feeling something makes you stronger. Just makes you smaller. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Like if this story moved you. Subscribe for more powerful stories. What surprised me most was what I learned about myself after everything ended. For years, I believed dignity meant keeping the peace, not being difficult, not making people uncomfortable. I believed aging gracefully meant stepping aside quietly, trusting that those who claim to love you would do right by you. I understand now that dignity has nothing to do with silence. Dignity is knowing when silence protects you and when it erases you. Growing older doesn't mean surrendering your agency. It means understanding what matters and what never did. In the evenings, I sit on my balcony and watch lights come on in surrounding buildings. Behind each window is a life unfolding. I know now how ordinary harm can look from the outside. How easily it hides behind routine and familiarity. If there's one thing I hope people understand from my story, it's this. Danger doesn't always arrive with raised voices or slammed doors. Sometimes it comes softly, wearing concern, asking you to trust it just one more time. And survival doesn't always look like fighting. Sometimes it looks like standing still long enough to see clearly, then choosing yourself without apology. I didn't disappear. I stayed. And that choice, quiet, deliberate and final, is what saved me. Comment, I choose myself, if this story inspired you. Like this video. Subscribe to this channel. Turn on all notifications so you never miss stories like this. And share this with someone who needs to hear that it's never too late to stand up for yourself. Thank you for watching. Remember, you are never too old to fight for your own life. Never too old to demand respect. Never too old to choose yourself. Until next time, this is Grace Thompson reminding you that survival sometimes looks like patience, preparation, and perfect timing.